Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Scares That Shaped Us, a podcast about horror writers and the stories that made them. I'm your host, Matthew Jackson. It's Christmas week, everybody. We made it. Yay. Santa is packing up the sleigh. And as a gift to all of our wonderful listeners, we are back this Christmas season with yet another Christmas horror episode. C. Robert Cargill is back on the show. We're going to talk to Cargill a little more in depth about his latest movie, Black Phone 2. There are some spoilers, so tread lightly around the early part of the interview if you don't want to be spoiled if you haven't seen that film yet. And then we dig into the 1980 Christmas horror classic, Christmas Evil, my favorite Christmas horror movie that isn't named Black Christmas. We're talking about that one specifically because Cargill mentioned to me back at Fantastic Fest earlier this year that he had an interesting take that kind of blows that movie wide open. He was right. We have a great time talking about his read on it. It's a blast. Hope you'll stick around for that. But before we get there, I did just want to talk a little more about Pop Heist. Pop Heist is not my baby. I didn't found it, but I am a member of the team over there and one of the people tasked with helping to grow that wonderful website. We are an ad-free, member-supported, worker-owned pop culture journalism website offering you reviews, editorials, lists, jokes, newsletters, TV recaps of the greatest television shows ever made, all manner of wonderful things over on Pop Heist. And right now, if you're listening to this the day it goes up, which is December 24th, all of it's free. That's right. We made all of Pop Heist free to our readers for December 24th and December 25th. So if you've been wondering what is behind that paywall, the fun we've been having, you can go read it right now as a nice little taste of what we have to offer over there. And we are still running an amazing holiday sale. You can get 20% off a year-long subscription to Pop Heist. It's less than $5 a month if you get the 20% off discount. If that sounds cool to you, you get a lot of amazing stuff like a monthly horror column from me, reviews that I write over there, lots of cool editorials. I am recapping Brian Fuller's Hannibal every week. You get a new retro recap and analysis of an episode of Hannibal. All that stuff and more can be yours. Go to popheist.com. Check out what we have to offer. Sign up if the spirit moves you. We're trying to grow this thing, and we would really appreciate your support. But that is enough of my pitch. Let's talk about Christmas horror. Here's our interview with the great C. Robert Cargill. Joining us this week on The Scares That Shaped Us is a returning guest we had a blast with last time he was here. He is the writer of movies you love like Sinister and The Black Phone and books you love like Sea of Rust. His latest movie, Black Phone 2, is now available on digital, and he has lots of other stuff going on all the time, so we're really grateful for the time. C. Robert Cargill, welcome back.
Hi, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this as we head into the holiday season. Like I said, Black Phone 2 is out on digital now. Everyone can go pick it up. I think
you can get it at home. It's still in theaters if you want to see it big. Definitely recommend doing that. Wouldn't
Absolutely
be opposed. But yeah, you can if you're still social distancing or you can't get out to the theater for some reason. Yeah, it's on VOD now.
I took another look at it over the weekend and was very pleased that it held up after my Fantastic Fest viewing, which was incredible. So I want to ask you a couple of sort of spoilery things about it. So if you haven't seen Black Phone 2, listeners, just skip ahead a few minutes and you won't get spoiled. But since it's been out for a little while now, we talked last time you were here about the understanding that you had that you could bring the grabber back fairly easily because you had already established that there's this phone that lets you talk to dead people. So from that point, knowing that you had that and that you had the idea of the grabber calling from hell, what was the approach to sort of figuring out the rules of how much can he manipulate the physical world? How much can he? Because at a certain point in this movie, he is going full Freddy Krueger and like invading dreams and stuff. So, did you pay a lot of attention to rules, or did you just sort of go crazy and figure it out as you went along? What I'm getting at is like there are very clear like ways in which he works in this movie.
Yeah.
Did you start out with those conversations, or did you go, wouldn't it be cool if, and then justify it later?
We started out with those conversations, and then as we went on, we said, you know, it would be cool, and then we would try to find ways to make that work within the framework. I mean, really what we did is we went back to the first movie. There is a whole set of rules in the first movie.
Yeah.
You know, there's several reviewers out there have said, well, you know, they don't really care about the rules, and said about both movies, and it's one of those mildly frustrating, also humorous kind of criticisms where it's like, oh, you weren't paying attention. And you can be kind of angry, like you weren't paying attention, but also like, oh, this is your criticism, but you didn't really catch this. You missed this line, and you misinterpreted it. And, you know, we buried a lot of stuff in that first movie and in this second movie that kind of like lays out everything. But so we went back, and there's several key moments in the first film that, you know, we did establish that ghosts could affect the real world. But the only time that you see that in the first movie is in moments of anger and rage. Like you see the soda bottle get thrown against the wall when the ghost is angry. And so we're like, well, that is a traditional trope of horror, of belief in ghosts and poltergeists, that excited emotional activity gives them, you know, a chance to alter this world. Well, he also goes on to explain in the subsequent film that all the other parts of him are stripped away. So really all that's left of him is all the evil and the anger. So he's actually a being comprised of a lot of rage. Also, it's very strongly hinted at in the first movie that he is also gifted, but that he has turned away from his gifts. So he's heard the phone ring, but he ignores it. He pretends it didn't happen. And much like Finn in the two movies, he's always kind of pushing against his own powers, where his sister is exploring her powers and developing them and getting more powerful. He is not, and they are atrophying. It's why at the end of the movie, she gets a phone call that he doesn't hear. Because the phone is, you know, metaphorical. It's a fetter. It's as she says earlier in the second film, you know, when she gets the loteria cards. It's just like anything, you know, if you have the gift, they can show you things. Well, that's what the phone is. You know, the phone, when you hear the phone ring, it's not an actual phone ringing, and it's not a dead phone ringing. It is quite literally the dead reaching out to you. And that's how your brain is processing the communication. Because, you know, we have, you know, throughout the history of this type of paranormal storytelling, there's a long running idea that some people just need a conduit, a methodology to talk, you know, to communicate with the dead or see the future or what have you. And that's what the phone is. It's just a big metaphor for them to understand their powers. And ultimately, those are the powers that the grabber starts working on and using to get himself out of the afterlife. But even then, he's still not actually Freddy Krueger and going into anyone else's dreams. He's contacting the person who he has something of a connection with that also has the ability. And so while he's doing stuff in the dreams, he's doing stuff in one person's dream, who we then later on hear in the you know, she realizes she's the one that's been reaching out herself, that it's been her. It's been something in her. Like he's contacted her in small ways, and she's actively doing that. And once she realizes she's the one who's creating the dreamscape that he's entering, that she has power there. And it's not until that point that she really understands what's going on. And so we had those rules laid out at the beginning when we set out to write this. We're like, okay, so let's figure out what our rules are from the first movie and extrapolate them, and then bury any information you need in the second one, because we don't like over explaining stuff. We like over explaining stuff when we write first, and then we cut that out and leave just enough for the audience to be able to put it together. There's an old saying that Billy Wilder used to repeat that he got from Leibowitz, I think, which is if you give the audience 2 + 2 and let them figure out that it's 4, they'll love you for it. And
Mm.
so that's something we try to do in our films is layer that stuff in there. And there absolutely is a set of rules. And there was plenty of times where one of us would write something and like, oh, this would be cool. And then the other would come in and be like, yeah, but that breaks the rules. And we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. How do we make this make sense? And then there's just some things we get fuzzy on that we're like, well, we've never really established that's a thing, but we haven't established that it's not. So I guess we could do that here. Things like the blood on the socks, because they're also telling a story, and being a shorthand into things without having to over explain and pull the movie aside for a moment. Um, and secondly, we love playing around with dream logic. The movie
Yeah.
is about dreams, and we love good old fashioned Argento dream logic, and so we're not against using some of that dream logic in the way that the movie works. That it itself at times feels like a nightmare,
Yeah.
because that is the nature of art, and we're trying to convey this thing. We're not giving you realism. We're giving you a scary story. We're giving you a campfire tale. We're giving you a nightmare. And
Yeah.
so we get a little fuzzy around the edges sometimes. But no, there is a whole baked in rule set. And if you pay attention to the two movies, you'll see that we don't deviate from that rule set, and just make stuff up willy nilly, and people get new powers or the ability to do other stuff. It's all very, all the weirder stuff happens within the dream, and then you know, has that psychic, I'm affecting the real world nature that we've seen already kind of that already exists.
I will say the grabber speech where he talks about hell and he says hell's not what you think it is. One of my favorite things that you and Derrickson have written. That's a beautiful, horrifying moment, and like you said, it buys you so much of what comes after that. Like it makes a lot of sense. The movie makes sense in the context of the movie. It's very weird to hear about people saying, well, people can't just do that, and I'm like, well, it's a movie about a phone that connects you to dead people, right? Like there's only, you like you said, if you pay attention, it all holds together. I want to ask about the big spoilers. So really skip ahead if you haven't seen the movie yet. But you were talking about dreams, and this is very much Gwen's movie. Madeline McGraw is incredible in Black Phone 2. Uh, and her sort of dream journey and figuring all this stuff out leads to the reveal that Finn and Gwen's mother did not commit suicide, as we previously thought. She was actually murdered, and it was staged to look like a suicide by the grabber because she has the sight as well and was able to piece together who was taking these kids around Denver. Where and when and how did that reveal become such a key part of the movie?
That was in the writing of this one. Because Scott and I both had two very different mindsets on what that was in the first movie, and uh, uh, we had two different headcanons, and so we had to sit down and kind of figure them out. And because it's very easy in the first film to be like, oh yeah, their mother committed suicide. She was having visions, dreams, yada yada. We know this information because it informs our character of Gwen, and the behavior of the father and what they're all going through as a family. But there wasn't really a real need to flesh that out in the first thing, and in the first movie. And I had ideas of what it meant, and Scott had ideas of what it meant. And then when we sat down to write it, Scott's like, I've got a take on this that neither of us had with the first one. And I'm like, all right, hit me. And he laid that out. And I was like, all right, let's figure out how that works. And then we both really liked it. And it worked. It was not nearly as dark as my version, and not nearly as quite his either. And it came out and it really worked in this. But yeah, it was something that during the plotting of this one, when we were trying to figure out all the ins and outs of how it worked, that was the oh, what if this, and then we make her a character, and then she very much begins to inhabit the film.
So, want to switch gears here and talk about something that you and your wife produced. That this episode will go up Christmas week. So this film will already be out in the world. If you haven't seen it yet, go see it. It's called Man Finds Tape. It is written and directed by Peter S. Hall and Paul Gandersman, two very cool Texas film guys. It is a very fun twist on found footage. If you liked a film like Shelby Oaks, you should absolutely go seek out Man Finds Tape, because it does its own singular thing with a similar kind of deconstruction vein. Um, how did you get involved with Man Finds Tape?
Well, Man Finds Tape is very weird in that almost everybody that worked on the film is somebody who's been in my life for upwards of 25 years.
Mm,
That this is one of the most Austin films ever fucking
yeah,
made. In fact, if you look at in fact, we refer to it as the Fantastic Fest movie because so many of the people involved all know each other through Fantastic Fest.
yeah,
And so I've known all these folks for years, and Rustic had come aboard to produce this movie with Peter and Paul. And they were going into pre-production, everything was ready to go, and they had an investor drop out at the last minute.
mm,
And the investor had made a lot of big asks and said, well, we want this percentage and we want this and this. And Rustic was just like, and Rustic, of course, I'm sorry, Rustic Pictures is owned by and run by Dave Lawson and Justin Menson and Aaron Moorhead.
yeah.
So if you know their movies, Spring, Resolution, uh, uh, I'm blanking.
The endless something
The
in the
endless.
dirt.
That's what I
Like
kept
that.
wanting
Yeah.
to say. Eternity. I'm like, it's not eternity. It's something the endless. Yeah. Those guys are good friends of mine, and they were just like, "Fuck no, we're not doing this." And so they were like, "Well, what are we going to do? This movie's going to shoot very shortly." And Dave's like, "Well, Cargill and Jessica know everybody on this film. What if we call them and see if they want to produce it?" And so they called us up, and we looked into it, and we were like, "This is great. You know, we love the script. We love everybody working on this film. It's the right price. Ooh, let's fund it. Let's make it." And so we wrote the check, and they went and made the movie. And in fact, I kind of distanced myself a little bit, not because I don't love the movie in total, but because me and my wife, we had a scheduled vacation, and our vacation ran over most of shooting in the movie, so we weren't there. So I don't want to be like, yes, it is my movie. Behold, I wrote the check, and my brilliant friends made a brilliant movie, and I get to have my name on it with my wife. And but we got to help get that movie made. Everybody brought it. It's just so good. So many of our friends are the actors in the movie. You know, one of the people that did the physical effects for the movie did a physical effects with me on the first movie I worked on back in 2008. You know, one of the lead actors in the movie is used to be a film critic with me back when we were film critics, you know, 20 years ago. Like it's that kind of thing. Like I know everybody, you know, it's like, oh, I know the gaffer, you know. We hang out in so much movies together, Fantastic Fest. Like it's that kind of thing where I knew everyone. So that's how we got involved, and we're really happy to help get it across the finish line. And then it started playing festivals and just doing incredibly well. And then people were seeing it and like, this is the found footage movie that we've been waiting for, and people have really dug it. So very proud to have been able to help make that movie.
Yeah. Man Finds Tape. I was able to see it shortly after it played Tribeca, I think, earlier this year. They sent me a link. It's fantastic. John Golson, who a lot of people will know as a critic and as a character actor, illustrator, jack of all trades kind of guy, turns in, I think, his best performance in any movie in
Oh yeah.
Man Finds Tape. He's incredible. So everybody go check that out if you haven't already. But this is our Christmas show, as I already said. And the reason that Cargill is here for our Christmas show is at Fantastic Fest this year, we were walking out of the secret screening of Silent Night, Deadly Night at the same time. Mike P. Nelson's Silent Night, Deadly Night, and that was when I met Cargill and told him how much I like Black Phone 2. We talked a little bit about both enjoying Silent Night, Deadly Night, which is also out now, and you should watch it because it's a lot of fun.
It is a
And
blast.
it's so great. And Cargill mentioned, we were talking about Christmas horror movies, and Cargill mentioned Christmas Evil, which is my favorite Christmas horror movie is Black Christmas. My second favorite is Christmas Evil. And Cargill said, I have a take on Christmas Evil that every time I tell it to people, it like blows their minds and gets them excited to see it again. And I kind of filed that away in the back of my mind and was like, I'm going to ask him if he wants to come on the podcast and talk about Christmas Evil. So, uh, uh, this is a film released in 1980. So, right as the slasher boom was kicking off, although it doesn't follow the same slasher rules as something like a Friday 13th, but I think close enough. It's also a killer Santa movie that predates Silent Night, Deadly Night, written and directed by Lewis Jackson and originally called You Better Watch Out. Um, I love this movie. I love how grimy and often surreal it is. But for now, before we talk any more about the details of it, I'm gonna give Cargill the floor and hear this take on Christmas Evil that I have been looking forward to hearing.
Well, you left out a key part of that story,
All right.
because we were walking out of and we were walking out of Silent Night, Deadly Night, and we were talking about it, and I said, "Man, I really liked it," but my take is it's not a Silent Night, Deadly Night remake; it's a remake of Christmas Evil.
All right.
And
Yes, yes.
that was the and that you're like, what? And I was like, oh yeah, no, I have a take on Christmas Evil. And so yeah, Christmas Evil's a movie I only stumbled upon a few years ago. It is not something that has been in my DNA forever. It was just one of those that for the longest time, every time I saw it, something clicked in my brain that made me think that it was another title of Silent Night, Deadly Night. That because a lot of the movies from the 70s and early 80s, the grindhouse culture was, hey, let's re-release that movie with a new title and a new poster, and we'll get people to go in and see it again. And they watched it like 2 years ago. They're not going to remember that they saw it, or they'll see it again and be like, oh, it's this movie. I forgot it was called this, because it wasn't called that. And so that grindhouse culture really kind of created a lot of stuff like, trying to track down Fulci movies and knowing which of the 3 or 4 titles is the same movie. And so I just did always filed that away. And it wasn't until one night that I sat down to watch Christmas Evil. And it was on Joe Bob Briggs. And I was like, I've never seen this before. No, this is new. Let's fucking go. And we got in. And the thing is you are right. It is grimy. It is nasty. It is not really it doesn't follow the rules of the serial killer movie, but it follows it close enough.
Yeah.
And the reason is because it is not a serial killer movie. It is masquerading as a serial killer movie. What it really is a fantasy film about Santa Claus. And it is a movie about the new Santa Claus becoming Santa Claus and going into the old school myths that Santa was not a truly benevolent being. The Santa we know, most of the affectations, both physical and lore wise in our culture now, entirely comes from commercials.
Yeah.
The look of Santa as we know him is from Coke commercials.
Coca-Cola, yeah.
The whole thing about, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, literally written by a guy who worked in a department store trying to sell more toys at Christmas. Becomes a big part of the thing. We watch all the specials every year. This lore wraps together. We have this whole look and feel of what Christmas is. And it's all sanitized, all the old school stuff about punishing kids. And so for us Gen Xers, we were like the last generation to grow up with the reference to coal in your stocking.
Mm-hmm.
Coal being, not just a punishment, but you were such a bad kid that the only thing you're getting is a few minutes of warmth from Santa. He's going to give you coal that you're going to throw on the fire, and then it's gone. Whereas the other kids who are good are going to get stuff that they're going to be able to keep through the whole year. But also before that, there are aspects of Santa Claus, Sinterklaas, that are all more neutral beings that both reward good and punish evil, and legitimately punish evil. And this is what this character in Christmas Evil, whose name I'm blanking on all of a sudden. What is his name again?
His name is Harry.
Yeah. Harry is the next Santa Claus. He is living his life excited for Christmas. He is making his own toys, not only making toys at the toy factory he works at, he's making toys at home for kids. He's keeping a list of who's naughty and who's nice. He gets legitimately upset. The thing is that what's really interesting is his love of innocence and childhood shot through that grimy lens in that first act feels so fucking creepy.
Yeah.
Like it is just like gnarly. You're like, oh my God, like him with the little picture of the little girl on his desk. You're just waiting for the shoe to drop when something happens to that little girl. Like clearly that's the type of movie we're watching. This is in the wake of Halloween, you know. Texas Chainsaw Massacre lit the fire. John Carpenter came in and made the perfect crystallization of what a slasher movie should be. And the takeaway for most producers is, oh, we make a killer and set it around a holiday. And so literally in 80 and 81, every holiday that was possible got itself a slasher. And then when they ran out of those, they're like, well, what else culturally? A slumber party? Yeah, let's do a slumber party massacre. That would be cool. Like we in a land speed record of taking everything that was cultural and adding a mask to it and a killer. And this was hinted at being one of those, you know. You Better Watch Out was an interesting title that would more tie in with the ending we get.
Yeah.
But it is not the Christmas Evil sets us up for the fake out and what got asses in seats, which is this is a slasher movie. And it's why the guy's not, you know, he's messed up, but like weirdly he's messed up because of the perversion of Christmas tied in with sex. And it's almost like it feels like the psychosexual films of the 70s
It really does. Yeah.
and early 80s, but really it's a weird meta commentary on how commercialized Christmas is becoming and how it's being perverted and the purity of Christmas is being taken away. And that's really at the heart of what he's disturbed by. He's not disturbed because he watched his dad try to fuck his mom, you know, in a Santa suit. He's really messed up at how Christmas has been perverted. And this all leads, it's you know, you watch as he goes through this movie beat by beat, paying attention to which kids are being good, which kids are being bad, then trying to punish the kids that are bad in ways that will hopefully steer them good. And when he realizes that's not a real thing, he has his moment where he snaps. But he doesn't snap and just go on a true killing spree. He only kills those he sees as, you know, violating the spirit of Christmas. And those that celebrate the spirit of Christmas get shared with his magic. When he shows up at that party later in the movie and he's dancing around and having a good time and joyous, he brightens that party. That party gets better because Santa's there. And all of a sudden, the magic of Christmas is he's full of it. The people are full of it. And then he goes out in the streets and he's dealing with, you know, the greedy and the cruel and the unkind, and he punishes them. And it all leads to the end of the movie and the most dissected part of this film, which is the final shots of the movie.
Yes.
Which is where he drives off of a bridge and he flies off into the sunset. Now, most people who watch the film believe that is a hallucination, that is in his mind as he goes over that. This is what he sees in his final moments, except that we're not watching it through his eyes. We're not seeing it from his perspective. The camera cuts away and we see it from his brother's perspective as his brother's watching the van fly off into the moon as he's going off to the North Pole in his van that he's painted the sleigh on and is his sleigh. That is his final becoming, that he has passed all the tests and now he believes. And in the moment that he believes, he goes off the bridge and he goes off to become Santa Claus. And that really, when you go back and rewatch the movie with that context, every single thing lines up to support that ending in a way that is masqueraded on the first view, where you do feel like you're watching a sleazy slasher film, but it's not doing all the kills the way you want one of those films to be. Like, that's one of the weird things about the movie while you're watching it. It's like, well, it's not really, you know, this is the same year as Friday the 13th, and the kills are not as inventive, and you know, there's you don't have what you get in a lot of these movies, which is a lot of TNA mixed in with the violence, because you couldn't just go out and get TNA at the store or go online and see it the way you could, you know, now 45 years later. And so It didn't have any of that. So it wasn't pushing all the buttons to be that teen geared slasher movie. It really feels like they were trying to make a cool, fantastical horror movie and then had to masquerade it as something else. And so that's how I felt this movie is. And every time I rewatch it, all the details from the film just reinforce that. And that's my feeling. And when you watch the new Silent Night, Deadly Night, it is more that movie than it is the movie that we often think Christmas Evil is.
Yes.
Which is, the first Silent Night, Deadly Night.
It's there are things about the new Mike P. Nelson's Silent Night Deadly Night that it takes a turn at one point, folks, and I'm not going to tell you anything about that turn, but you're gonna get up out of your seat and cheer at the screen. It's pretty great. Yep. But so I have seen Christmas Evil. Like I said, it's one of my favorite Christmas horror films. I've seen it a lot. I never came away with that interpretation, but everything you're saying holds weight because like Harry is a guy who he lives in an apartment on a regular street in, I think, New Jersey is where it's set.
Mm-hmm.
And he drives a van and he works middle management at a toy factory. He's just kind of a schlub, except he has this very aspirational thing where he wants to be Santa. And when we meet him, he wants to be Santa, but he's not Santa. He has not yet gone all the way into Santa mode, but he's very much, he cares a lot about it.
He cares about the toys. He cares about the kids.
He cares deeply about the kids to a perhaps unhealthy degree, because we were talking about he has a picture of he watches the kids on his block basically, mm-hmm. and says, well, that kid's naughty, that kid's nice, but that one little girl, Susie, she is just an angel. She is my ideal child. She is so sweet and nice and kind to everybody, and that's the best kid. And so he puts her on this pedestal that you think is going to lead somewhere that it doesn't lead. But you talked about the fantasy elements, and this, I think, is the most interesting thing about this movie, because it never loses that gritty sort of grindhouse feel, because again, it's still about a guy driving around in a van in a Santa suit that gets increasingly dirty as the night wears on.
Shot on the shittiest 16 millimeter film they could find in 1980.
Absolutely. But it's also a movie that ends with a mob of people literally bearing torches.
Mm-hmm.
They make and light torches to chase this man out of town because they think he's a pedophile. They're like, he's gonna mess with our kids. He's gonna try to kill us in our sleep. He's awful. He's horrible. And the best part about that is at the end, first of all, I love when he goes to that sort of slightly more upscale neighborhood and the entire street is just lined with Christmas blow molds that are all lit like snowmen and Santas and stuff. That's so surreal and strange, because they're not really you can't really look at those decorations and go, oh, they belong to that house or they belong to that house. It's just the whole street. And it's like the carpet is being rolled out now, and you get to choose your destiny now, Harry, if this is what you want. And then he literally uses the love that the children have for him as a shield at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Because a guy comes at him with a switchblade and says, you're that guy they talked about on the news that's gonna, and he pops the switchblade, and the kids form a barrier around Santa because he literally just handed them gifts.
Yep.
And they say, no, you can't hurt Santa. And that's not Santa. And the kids fight their own parents off for this guy.
Because they believe.
Yes, they believe, and their belief fuels his belief. And it builds and builds and builds to this ecstatic conclusion where the van goes off the bridge, but it takes off into the sky. I love the idea that this is like the Santa Claus with Tim Allen, but better.
Yeah. It's the dark, gritty 1980s the Santa Claus.
It is,
and it's the thing is that it's rooted in reality. So it's not some sanitized, Hallmark movie. It's New Jersey. And what happens when, Santa not the sanitized, really cool, great for commercial version of Santa, but the mythical version of Santa comes around and realizes who he is and what he is and why he needs to exist, and that Santa clearly doesn't exist in 1980. That the old Santa's gone, because there is no Santa, and we need a Santa again, and Harry is that Santa.
Right. And I mean, he, like we said, he works in a toy factory, and he is so concerned with giving the kids good quality toys, and it drives him crazy that no one around him seems to care that much.
Yeah.
All of his coworkers are, and I mean, not, I don't, they're not necessarily bad people, but
No,
they are very much focused on, this is my job. I do my job. I get my paycheck. I go to the bar. I go home. That
they
is
are
my,
worldly people.
yeah,
They are salt of the earth, and they need a Santa. They need someone who cares.
yeah. And he just keeps seeing evidence that there is no, like, there's not enough concern over this in his life. And the moment, which I just, in rewatching the movie, I had forgotten this. The moment when he really snaps and goes full on murder Santa, the most like graphic moment in the movie really is he goes to the company Christmas party, and he's talking, and there's a video playing of like the CEO of this toy company. Jolly Dream is the name of the company, which the Jolly Dream signage is so beautiful, and I would love to find that somewhere in a memorabilia market. But the CEO of the company is like, every year we give toys away to children at this children's hospital. We give all these toys away, and it's just out of our generosity. We like to do it, but hey, if employees want to pitch in and give some money so that we can donate toys, then that's great too. We welcome that. Everyone, open up your wallets and be generous to these kids. And then he's talking to
But
his
remember, the harder you work, the more toys we can give away.
yes, keep meeting the quotas. And he's talking to the executives who are like, "Hey, you're on our side of the desk now. We can tell you how things really work." And they essentially tell him like, the company doesn't give away toys. We sell toys for profit. Now, if the employees want to give their money away, that's fine, but the company's not going to give away money, because why would we do that? We're trying to earn a living, and this is our busiest time of year. And it makes him so angry that he loads up his van with he steals a bunch of toys from the company, wraps them, loads his van, delivers them to the children's hospital in this like really sweet moment, because he shows up, the security guard is like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "No, no, 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 no. Look, I'm just delivering toys. That's all I'm doing." And all the orderlies come out, and they're all like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much. You just made these kids Christmas. You're so great. You're so wonderful." And he gets that wonderful warmth back of like,
Yep.
"Yeah, this is great." And then he goes to a midnight mass and promptly murders the executives who told him about this scheme that they have to not really give anything away. So it is like, it's the two halves. It is
Yeah.
the rewarding and the punishment. We give
Yeah.
innocent children get toys. Shitty executives get a toy soldier sword through their eye.
Yeah, shitty executives who are stealing from people because they're saying, "Hey, do all this and we will give these toys away," and then not doing it. So they're reaping all the rewards, getting all the benefits, and stealing from the kids essentially. And Santa can't abide by that.
And I think here we have to talk a little bit about Brandon Maggart, who plays Harry. Um, who's, fun fact, everybody, is Fiona Apple's dad. I don't know how many people know that, but he is Fiona Apple's father.
I always forget that fact. That's always one of those facts that I always forget. And knowing that Fiona Apple is my age, it's like, oh, wait a second. So Fiona Apple was a little girl when her dad went to make this movie.
Yeah. But a movie like this, where you simultaneously have to give us the goods of, like, it's a killer Santa movie. He is a Santa who kills people. You do get that. And he is very clearly like a disturbed person who is having issues with the world around him and the way that he sees things, and yet also gets to be a benevolent figure who is clearly like, has the best of intentions with what he's doing. that is difficult to play. It is very difficult to get both, and Brandon Maggart does a phenomenal job of playing not just like I'm angry at these people and not just I love kids, but there are moments when he is just flat out overcome with emotion
Mm-hmm.
because he is seeing the impact that his choices are having for both punishment and reward, like, but especially when he sees kids react to him as Santa. He has this amazing expressiveness in his eyes, and he spends this whole second half of the movie behind a gigantic beard. So you really only have his eyes, and he just his your heart breaks for him because he is just like, I'm finally living the dream that I've had since I was a little boy. It's finally happening, and someone understands what I'm doing. He is tremendous in this movie.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like this movie rests on his shoulders, and he's playing this movie like he believes he's Santa. And that's really one of the driving things here is he's not playing it like somebody who's crazy. The movie is convincing us that he's crazy.
Yeah.
He is deep in I am Santa Claus, and never violates those rules that deal with naughty and nice. He doesn't kill one innocent person in this movie, and the body count also isn't as high as you would believe it is. Like it's really one of those lower body count slasher movies.
Yeah, it's like
Again,
four
because it's
people.
not a
Yeah.
slasher movie. Yeah.
Right, right. It's like four people. But I love Christmas Evil so much, y'all. It's streaming places. If you have not seen it, make it a part of your like Christmas horror rotation this year. Um Cargill, I know we got to let you go here shortly, but I want to ask, since this is the Christmas show and we're talking about Christmas horror movies, what are your must watches in December for horror films? What are your go-tos?
Oh, for horror movies in particular. Well, I mean, it depends on how you Violent Night, Deadly Night, or Violent Night has become one of my favorites.
Yeah.
This year in particular, I'm going to rewatch Silent Night, Deadly Night, the new Mike P. Nelson. I do love that. That may fall into rotation as well. I'm trying to think. The others, man, I was not a question I wasn't prepared for today. And I'm trying to think what else in the vein of horror that I watch
Well,
because I don't.
let's open it up because Violent Night is sort of a action movie hybrid thing anyway. What are your must watches at Christmas? Just any
Here's
genre.
one of the things I will say is I'm not a must watch guy.
Okay.
I have two movies that I must watch. And one I'll bring up here because it is in fact horror adjacent. There's just two movies that me and my wife watch every year once the season starts and once the season ends, and then there's another one we almost always watch. And then we juggle and we have favorite movies that we'll watch every 2 or 3 years. So like I watch Gremlins every 2 or 3 years. You know,
Right.
I don't have to watch Gremlins. It's not Christmas until I see Gremlins. No, I Gremlins is one that I'll throw on. Black Christmas I watch every 4 or 5 years. You know, and be like, oh hey, it's time to watch Black Christmas again. Christmas Evil's become one of those that I'm like, oh, I'd love to watch that this season. The ones that are must watches for us is we always watch It's a Wonderful Life. My wife loves that movie. We watch it usually the week of Christmas. We love Love Actually. I saw that twice in a theater when it came out, and I share that with her. We watch it together every year. The Alamo Draft House. We used to just watch it here at the house, and now the Alamo Draft House has a great series of loud screenings.
Hmm.
So you go and watch it with an audience, and everybody's rowdy, and you pop champagne corks when your favorite couple kisses, and it's a stupid blast. It's a good time. The one that we love, that we kick off the Christmas season with, it's called Beyond Christmas on a lot of streamers. It was originally released as Beyond Tomorrow, and it is a 1940 Christmas film about these three, we feel very queer coded older gentlemen who all live together in a house and all work together at an architectural firm, and they're all very lonely on Christmas and nobody's come to have dinner with them, and so they cook up this cockamamie idea that, hey, we've got these leftover wallets we gave to all of our staff for Christmas. We've got a few left over. They've got $10 bills in each of them. Let's each put one of our cards in and we'll throw it out the window into the streets of New York. And if somebody returns it, then we will invite them in for dinner and have dinner with them and get to know them. Well, they do this. Two people bring it back, a young man and a young woman. They invite them in and become instant friends. And these are two people who really need friends in New York. The two young couples start falling in love instantly that night. You know, they're really into each other already. The old men are just kind and wonderful. And it's just this beautiful, amazing first act of a movie. And they become friends and start hanging out all the time. And and that's the first act of the movie. And the end of the first act is the three men go on a trip to Philly to look at a structure that they're building, and their plane crashes and they come back as ghosts and now spend the holiday season trying to save the souls of their friends as their friends' lives kind of spiral out. And so they are there as ghosts in the afterlife. And it's kind of noir blanc in that way, except that there's now this weird element that like halfway through, one of them may go to hell. Like there's literally the darkness encroaches and he's been talking about his sins and he's like, oh, I guess this is like it goes dark places and it gets really dark and right down to the end is very noirish in which certain people have been corrupted by other people and bullets fly and people die, and it is far from a Hallmark movie, except that it's so sweet and beautiful, and how it deals with the afterlife and how it deals with this story is gorgeous, and it's streaming everywhere because nobody knows this film. And if you dig into it, you'll find out, oh, the young man in it is who's the singer is the professor in Creature from the Black Lagoon, and one of the older men is Harry Carey Sr., who is a legend in his own right. And you find like little nuggets of who was big at the time when this movie was made, but it's mostly forgotten. But it's this really cool, adorable, supernatural Christmas movie that me and my wife watch every Thanksgiving now. That's how we get into the mood.
I have never seen it. I will make a point of watching it this holiday season in honor of the Cargill family. So before we let you go, Cargill, I know you have obviously Black Phone 2 out now. Everyone go watch it. It's great. One of my favorite horror movies of the year. Man Finds Tape also out now. But you have a couple of other things to plug. So once again, floor is yours. Let people know what you got going on and where to find you online.
Well, yeah, you can find Black Phone on VOD wherever you get your movies. You can find my latest book, All the Ash We Leave Behind. That was just released as an audiobook by Simon and Schuster. Got back one of my Baka Adam, one of my favorite readers, who read one of my previous robot books. This is set in my Sea of Rust universe. It takes place between Day Zero and Sea of Rust, and that's out. Yeah, and then of course, Man Finds Tape is on VOD available now.
All right, our guest has been C. Robert Cargill. Cargill, thanks again, and happy holidays to you and the family.
Thank you, and I hope you enjoy your next watch of Christmas Evil, and I hope it changes for you.
Absolutely. Thanks once again to C. Robert Cargill for returning to the show. It was so much fun getting to chat with him. Black Phone 2 is out now wherever you get your movies. It's really fun. Rest in peace, the great James Ransone, who we lost just a couple days ago. If you're hearing this, he is fantastic in that. He is fantastic in a lot of other great movies that Cargill has worked on, and thoughts are with his family and with Cargill's family, because I know that they were very close and that hit them hard earlier this week. And be sure to go find Cargill on social media. As we talked about the last time he was here, he is always full of wonderful motivation and ideas and ways to kind of break your writing slumps. If you're someone who is a writer, an aspiring writer, a professional writer, whatever level, he's got great stuff for you over on his social feeds. So go check that out. And if you want to keep track of everything we have going on, the best way to do that is to follow us on Blue Sky. We are at scareshapedus.bsky.social over there for new guest announcements, episodes, giveaways, all kinds of cool stuff. We are also the Scares That Shaped Us on Facebook, and we are the Scares That Shaped Us on YouTube. If you prefer to get your podcast that way, like, subscribe. We appreciate you. If you like the show, a great Christmas gift to get me would be to head over to the podcasting platform of your choice and give us a 5-star review. That helps us immensely to grow our audience. You can also head over to our newsletter. That is at MatthewJacksonWrites.com. That is where you will find lots of original horror criticism writing from me. There's going to be a lot more stuff coming over there in 2026. You can chip in $1 or $5 to help us out, support my writing, support the podcast, but you don't have to. There's a lot of free content over there, and you can just put your email in and get all that free content straight to your inbox. That is it for us this week. This is the last regular format episode of The Scares That Shaped Us that you will hear in 2025. But it is not the last episode of The Scares That Shaped Us that you will hear in 2025. Next week, December 31st at noon Central, we will start our 2-part Best of 2025 recap. We're going to spread it out across 2 weeks this time because it was a lot of conversation. And I didn't want to make y'all listen to a 4-hour episode of the podcast. So on December 31st at noon Central, we will drop our best books of 2025 episode, best horror books of 2025, I should say. And our guest for that episode will be Mother Horror herself, the amazing Sadie Hartman. We talked to Sadie about her favorite books this year. We talk about my favorite books this year. It is a great time. And then the following week, we will be back again with a conversation on the best horror movies of 2025 with a friend of ours, film critic, podcaster, all-around great guy, Matt Donato will be here, and we will talk about our respective top 10 horror films of 2025 lists. So the next 2 Wednesdays at noon Central both times, you will get best of 2025 content, and then we will get right back into regular episodes with a really cool guest that I'm not able to tell you about just yet. That is it for us this week. Everybody, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Happy holidays. I'm Matthew Jackson, and this is The Scares That Shaped Us.